What is good? I mean, what is really good, my people? It is UK, Trottler brother, dr.blick, the darkest man who around. And today, guys, it's been a while since I've recorded a video, but today we are gonna do Is It Cheeks Worthy? And I'm here with MrNinjaStar. So say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. I'm happy to make my return once again on Blick's channel. I remember the last time we recorded, we said it's been a while, and ever since we recorded that, it's been a while. But yeah, no, happy to be on the channel. Happy for you to bring this series back. Is it cheeks worthy? And what are we going to be talking about?
We are gonna be talking about Megalo and whether Megalo is a good whether Megalo is a good series and whether we would recommend it to you, whether it's worth watching. So I'm gonna pass it over to Ninja and give a brief synopsis on what Megalo is about to the people.
Megalo, well, okay, first before I go into the actual story, I think what a lot of people have to keep in mind, because Blake's opinions are, yeah, you guys will see. I think we all should understand that Megalo is meant to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the franchise Ashite no Joe, which is more or less like the most popular boxing anime, correct, in Japan?
Is one of them. It's hard to
iconic.
say because it's so old.
Yeah.
It's so old. Yeah, iconic. That's the right word, man.
Yeah. So,
but continue.
Yeah. So more or less, it's celebrated as a one-shot, and its main character Joe, who also has the same name as the predecessor series, is this nobody. He comes from a kind of messy side of town and still just wants to work his way up to fight this one guy, Yuri, who we ran into because for a while he was just doing underground type boxing where it was dirty. All the matches were supposed to be staged and thrown and all of that, but he actually does want to start taking boxing more seriously, and it's kind of played off as this underdog story. And then as he goes along, he meets rivals or former students of his master, or not his master, of his coach, basically, Nambu-san. And overall, the whole series is just built off, well, because obviously before he gets to fight Yuri and to kind of get a second shot at him, because he tried to fight him early on and it didn't go so well, before he actually has to fight Yuri, he has to go through, obviously, rise up the ranks to Megalonia and then be in the finals itself. So it's basically revolving around him and his journey, and the finale is just Joe versus Yuri, and it's all within 13 episodes.
As interesting as it sounds, in my opinion, it sounds more interesting than it actually is. But I gotta give Megalo credit. One of the great things that this series does is that it looks good. The art style is good. The animation, for the most part, is flawless. It's a nice looking series. You can't really complain about Megalo visually when you look at the series as a whole. When you think about Megalo in terms of the things that it gets right, the animation, the music, and the art are the things that stands out. When it comes down to the fighting, it really depends on what you deem as good fighting. For me, it's enjoyable fighting, and it's something that I feel that I could get into when looking at it through trailers or even AMVs. It's something that would make you want to watch Megalo. So I'm gonna pass over to Ninja. Ninja, what did you like about Megalo?
I think I just like the fact that, yeah, like you mentioned, the art style felt very reminiscent of 90s shows like Cowboy Bebop, but also kind of had this new flair to it, which I liked. And the music too is really has this kind of hip hop beat to it, which I really like. I mean, all in all, just aesthetically, for a one-shot show, it looks really good. Better than Ashite no Joe, I would say, because even so, Blake can't really get it into the series because its older art style does seem quite dated to where it's kind of hard to get into. But I think Megalo definitely is visually appealing. I think the styles of its fights, Joe, I like Joe as a protagonist. I like that we don't really know much about his backstory. He literally is a nobody. We don't even know his, I guess it can be a double-edged sword for some people. They're we want to know more about Joe, but I also kind of like the fact that Joe himself doesn't even regard his past that much. It doesn't make who he is, so it depends on your perspective. You can maybe disagree with that idea, but it worked for me, and I did like some of the fights. Personally, I like the fights that we saw kind of go along more than the actual climax, because the fights that go along are a lot more brutal. And granted, like Blick mentioned to me earlier in the call, I kind of wish Joe would learn from his fights a bit more and maybe take a bit more L's. Because like the best way for you to learn from something or to really develop your own style is for you to actually take L's and take really hard hits. I mean, he has brutal fights, and my favorite fight is Joe versus Aragaki, because it felt like there was a lot more. The Joe versus Yuri was a lot more built up, but Joe versus Aragaki kind of came in out of nowhere, but also had like an emotional connection to Aragaki and Nambu-san. That's like, I think, the peak of the series for me. Like the halfway point. And then after there, it's good, and then like the finale kind of dips in quality for me.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with that. Like, the backstory of that was good. It surprised me that they were able to squeeze the backstory of that in. And when it comes down to Joe's backstory, me honestly, I know a lot of people are gonna say this is part of his character. I feel like they just couldn't be bothered to give Joe any backstory, even hint at any backstory of him, because for the most part, 13 episodes for a series like that you want to build a character like that isn't really enough. So going into the series, I was hoping, maybe we could get more seasons of this. Maybe we could see more of this. Maybe we can know more about Joe and see how he develops as a character and see the stuff he learns as a boxer. And for the most part, I was wrong. We didn't really get to know a lot about him. We didn't really get to find out about him, even though that was the point of the series. And another thing I got to put out there is that we didn't really see him learn anything as a boxer. He didn't really tighten up his defense, because for the most part, he was getting pummeled. Like literally pummeled. it turned into a back and forth sort of thing. Like one of my biggest issues about the series was the fact that that he didn't really learn anything. For the most part, he was walking his opponents down. And if you guys do not know what walking your opponent down is literally walking through their punches and trying to carry on, persistently go forward and trying to take as much damage as they can. So you pretty much essentially allowing them to punch themselves out, or in the series case, get frustrated, because you got to keep in mind there's no rounds in this. It's pretty much until you get tired, and that kind of takes away the intensity of things, because for the most part it just gave them an easy solution for a fighter to win, because since there's no decision, since there's no points, since there's no tension, since there's no sense of time limit, it's pretty much as much as you can take. And that's pretty much it for the most part, as much as you can take. And having that kind of takes away the stakes, because it pretty much makes it look like Joe has better stamina than most people, and he shouldn't. I'm surprised he lasted that long. And then you got to factor that he was having fights after fights where he was continually doing the same thing, not really learning any weakness about his opponents. He's just taking advantage of the limitation of, let's say, a gear that they had. Say if they can only handle the gear for like 6 rounds, he'd take advantage of that and just wait until he wears them down. He doesn't really do anything. He don't really refine his technique. We don't really get to see him train and see the hard work he put into it. All we know is that Joe has heart, he has balls, and he has determination to win. That's all we know about him. If he gets knocked down, he will get back up. If he gets hit, he will still carry on going forward. For the most part, that's pretty much what Joe is as a character. He's a guy that doesn't shy away from anything, doesn't duck or hide away from anyone. He tries to do what he can to get the win, which is respectable. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at it from a realistic standpoint, there's levels to this, and there's only so much you can do that for. But it is what it is. In terms of the entertainment standpoint, it was an entertaining series. I can't dispute that it was. I can't say that it wasn't entertaining. It was entertaining, and seeing him rise through the ranks and get more popularity was pretty interesting as well. I liked that whole media thing, Gearless Joe, the way you see people getting tattoos of him and seeing it on bikes and stuff. I liked all of that junk, and I liked the music, the beat, and everything. The only thing I wasn't really keen on was the guy singing the intro. I wasn't keen on his voice, man. The beat was good, and then when that guy busted out his vocals, I was like, yeah, man, this is part I skip. But I'm gonna give it to Ninja because I was babbling for a long ass time.
No, you're good.
So take away, Ninja.
I think it's also like we've criticized the show a lot, but it has its high points, and I think a lot of like its start, I think, is very enjoyable to see. Like seeing Joe actually go from JD, a nameless dude, like we didn't even know really what to call him at the first episode, but then like as the series progresses, you know, being to actually gain his own identity, and that's why I mentioned like the Aragaki fight, which is like episode 6, 7, something like that, is what I consider the peak, because it's like it's still kind of finding its identity, but it's like it's not trying to do too much. So it's still like in its, I guess you could say, exposition phase, but at the end of the day, it was still like really entertaining to me, and it didn't feel like it was trying to disappoint us or anything, because wasn't what the series was building up to. The series was building up to Joe versus Yuri, and I mean, like the fact that they didn't even show who won, I wasn't exactly too keen on that. I mean, I understand like their whole point wasn't really like to find who would win or like a victory. It was mainly to find a dancing partner, as they described. But even so, I think maybe just seeing like a down Yuri and then Joe looking over him, I think that could have made for like a really powerful scene, rather than just like in the middle of them about to punch each other, you get like a 1 year time skip. I don't know. I thought that was kind of random. And it's like you saw so many. You thought like. I guess I can't hate it too much because it stopped itself from being too predictable, but I still think an ending where Joe like either dies or has like a serious repercussion would have been like a lot more powerful in my eyes, because like the titles of these episodes, all of them at least somewhat relate to death. Like even at the end of each episode, it's like not dead yet, so you get this idea that Joe might die. And in the original Ashitano, Joe died. So it's like. Oh yeah, spoilers. It's just like you thought it was gonna go that one way, but it didn't, and it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, plot twist. It's like that's kind of an underwhelming approach. You were like setting up something really risky, but something that could have been really unique, especially compared to like other shows nowadays. But then you just like go, I guess, the safe route, you could say, like the really safe route. And then yeah, it's just like, come on, like in the series where it felt so different from all the other like ongoing shonen of the season, or not shonen, like just anime of the season, the fact that it kind of went this safe route, that like the easy option, wasn't underwhelming, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. It's the ending too, and endings are the most important, but go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what you get when you dabble into a series that is essentially just celebrating an anniversary, because there's only so much they can do, there's only so much episodes they have, there's only so much time they have, and that's pretty much what Joe was. I know a lot of people will be scratching their heads saying, why couldn't they just make a Ashita no Joe remake? That would have been interesting. I would have welcomed that idea if they remade it. But they went on with Megalobox, and Megalobox, for what it was a good series. And even though it did not reach up to the expectation that I expected it to, it was a good series. Would I watch it again? Probably not. Probably not. But do I recommend you guys watch it? Yeah, why not, man? I recommend you guys should watch Megalobox. I'm gonna go and give it over to Ninja. Would you rate Megalobox out of 10?
I think a solid 7. I think, or maybe a 7.5. I guess I can go back and forth, but then I give it a 7 when I think about the Joe versus Yuri fight. But then I'm like, oh, the Aragaki fight was pretty good too. So it's like I guess I'll give it a 7.5. Why not? It's definitely like, if you want to get into like boxing anime or sports anime, this is a solid series to actually get yourself into the genre. Like, it's not,
and it's the shortest.
Yeah, that's true, and it doesn't. You don't have to worry. Often people are like, you shouldn't recommend this anime because it's so good that everything else you watch after is going to be kind of bad. But no, I think Megalo starts itself. I'd say it's a solid series. And then like once you actually get interested in it, or like you like the concept, or you like the direction, or you like just sports anime, I guess you could say, this can get you into like better series out there, like Hajime no Ippo, which I mean is a lot longer, but me, Blick, and I think Star Below disagree, is the superior because it doesn't celebrate as a one shot. It takes itself, how do I put it? Like, it kind of has I can't find the word for it, but it's not so.
It's realistic boxing.
It's not so much a one shot. I guess that's a nicer way of putting it. And you can also get into other good sports anime like Haikyuu and Kuroko and all that. But I think Megalo is solid. 7 out of 10. What about you? 7.5 out of 10. What about you?
Me, if I think of that final fight, man, goes to a 6.5. But if I look at it overall, a solid 7 out of 10 series. Had a lot of bumps on the road. Started off strong. When it got during the end, it kind of lost its way. Still had some great fights, great animation. For the most part, it was consistent with what it was trying to do. I can't really fault it for the flaws it has, even though I have been doing that for the longest amount of time. But there's only so much they can do. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And when you take on a concept of boxing, it's always hard to nail it right, because you gotta do it in a way where they can't lose too much, and you gotta give them that sense of risk and that sense of urgency, and show the fighter that you're trying to bring up that there's different styles in the game of boxing, that there's different techniques and different ways of fighting. And this series didn't really have the time, or I would say the backing, to explore that route of boxing. But for what it did, it was good. I recommend you guys check that out for yourself. You might like it better than we did, who knows. And if you see Megalobox, leave it down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Megalobox and the entirety of the series. And yeah, check out Ninja's channel, link to that will be in the description below. And let's wrap up this video. So please comment and subscribe. I know I say this all the time, but at the end of the day, I'm just saying, please hit like, rate, and enjoy this video. And yeah, this is UK. Trot Brother will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
And this, my friends, is why you should watch Hajime no Ippo.
Bruh.